बेटी बचाओ, पढ़ाओ, नेता बनाओ।
आज नया संसद भवन देश के लिए एक महत्वपूर्ण ऐतिहासिक फैसले का साक्षी बन रहा है।
First steps to true Nari Shakti. Time to bury divisions and pass it.
It will boost the women empowerment और महिला सशक्तिकरण को बहुत बढ़ावा मिलेगा। जो हम 27 साल से वेट कर रहे थे वो आज पूरा होने जा रहा है।
Nari Shakti in the house. Well, Nari Shakti truly in the house, viewers. As India stands on the cusp of history, will we cross that threshold? It's a headlight moment for India as the Nari Shakti Bill is what we'll call it here on India today. But the Women Reservation Bill has been tabled in Lok Sabha. Today we're going to see 7 hours of discussion. What was deemed unnecessary in 1947 in the Constituent Assembly, it was brought up then, today seems to be a reality. Though it's going to be a long, protracted battle going up to possibly 2029. But have we really, truly begun on this momentous journey? So the entire bench strength of women of the India Today channel have all come together to give out their views on what they feel, something which has been very close to our hearts. Not just that, on something which is a big one when it comes down to women empowerment. Let's take it through right to Polumi first. Polumi, you've been, you know, I envy Polumi because she was actually inside the house when this decision or the bill was tabled. But Polumi, just take us through the political journey somewhere down the line where the Women Reservation Bill comes into question, because, you know, it's been so long, so arduous, bought over, you know what, 6 times in the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government. The timing possibly, it can't be better timing than what it is right now.
Absolutely. I think the moment has finally come, and we'll all be hoping, of course, that the bill is passed. At least all the women who do believe that this has been quite the arduous and daunting journey, as you said. It obviously, the architect of it was CPI MP and leader Geeta Mukherjee, who pushed through with this bill and who championed the cause of 1/3 reservation for women in Parliament and in legislative assemblies. And finally, that moment, unfortunately, she's no longer with us. She is not here to see that possibly, finally, after many attempts at bringing this bill to Parliament and having it passed, finally, probably a moment has come when we won't see as much opposition to this bill. Like you said, it was first introduced in 1996 during Prime Minister H.D. Devegoda's time. It has been introduced several times. Every time it lapsed with the dissolution of the Lok Sabha. The last time round, of course, it's what was the 2008 version of the bill. It was brought to the Rajya Sabha because usually bills that are passed through the Council of States do not lapse. They stay alive. And that bill, of course, was passed through the Rajya Sabha. But again, the parties that had then extended support to the UPA at that point of time suddenly backed out at the last moment when it was to come to the Lok Sabha. So wasn't taken up for consideration, wasn't passed. And then, of course, it went into the cold storage. What the Narendra Modi government has brought forward, though, even though the last bill was alive, is a new version of the bill. Much of it is what exactly the Geeta Mukherjee committee had suggested, though, of course, there are some contentions, Preeti, which, of course, we'll be discussing through the course of the day, because it's going to come up in the discussion in the Lok Sabha, which is, of course, going to be about quota for OBC women. But yes, that moment has come. Lok Sabha takes it up for discussion 11 a.m. this morning. Well,
you know, in 4 words, I would reckon today or yesterday, we etched history when we tabled that bill. Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam, that's what the bill was called as it was tabled. with what Polumi pointed out, I think it's so important for all of us as well to go back and recount in history of all those women cutting across party lines who fought the good fight. Whether it be the left, Polumi just named Geeta Mukherjee, who was possibly the architect of it, a very short, frail woman, but what a fight she fought. And not just that. 1987 is, of course, the entire journey of the bill. From Rajiv Gandhi constituting a committee chaired by Margaret Alva, whose recommendation in 1987 was that a reservation be given. And then, of course, it coming full circle. And there is, a deep irony or a political irony to that, coming full circle, where it's been tabled in the Narendra Modi government, and in all possibility, it will see the light of day. But Abha Bakai, I want to get you into this conversation, primarily from the, purview, because there are so many out there who say, is this really women empowerment to give 33% reservation? There is so much else that one can do. Why can't political parties give out tickets more? That's the true empowerment. Reservation is not the way.
That is a debate for sure, but I think that this is a huge step in the right direction, Preeti. If we take a look at the latest UN numbers, and we're all aware, they said that to achieve actual equality in terms of political representation globally, it would take more than a century, 130 years to get there. There are only 13 countries in the world right now that have equal representation. There are less than 30 that have 30%, right? And India, of course, is way down the ladder. So this is now, even if it's something that comes into effect in 2029, it's something that's going to accelerate the process at a much faster pace. It's put it front and center and said that, listen, women are the ones that are going out there and making decisions today. How can you not have equal representation? And I, for one, am so ecstatic to see some of these new age, progressive, young leaders come to the fore. Whether it was like a Nayana Motama, who incidentally, apart from nepotism, is actually also from the SC/ST background. Whether it's this young MP in Thiruvananthapuram who's taken her baby to work. But this is the face of New India. So, while everyone can keep talking about those that have led in the past, this is what we're looking to in the future.
Pooja, I'll bring you in on this, because if you look at it, always the kingmaker, never quite the king or the queen,
yes.
One can say. If you look at the vote percentage, it's gone up dramatically. There are vote banks, a woman vote bank operates on its own. There are no benchmarks that it follows in terms of caste, religion. You just don't know what it's going to do.
True.
It's very dynamic in that sense. But for the first time, do you see deliverance where it's due? Because if you look at representation politically, where do we stand? 10 to 15% where women are concerned? And do you think the time is right? And this is one of the reasons why we need representation.
I definitely think, Preeti, that it's a landmark decision. But while we have these women who are going to be in the parliament with seats that are reserved when women have to fight. So there are seats that are reserved for women when they contest. But to have 33% in parliament, it's something that we know that women have had to fight to even get into political life. Most of the women who have been able to contest earlier, specifically in rural areas, have had a man behind who would eventually take decisions. So this would be nice to have a woman sitting in the parliament and be able to take that as a policy. But I would love to actually see eventually policies being made for women that will help these women. As 33% when you're there, it needs to benefit women with the decisions taken. Otherwise, it could just be tokenism. And that's why I do think it's a landmark decision. But we'll have to see what these women netas eventually do.
Pooja has a point. But if you look even at the panchayat level where there is reservation, you'll see more of the sarpanch pati and less of the sarpanch. And it actually is a placard right outside their house. But, there's a caveat in that as well. Because in a state like Rajasthan, where there was actually a study, and Nabila, I'll bring you in, where, uplifting and women emancipation is concerned, that the sarpanch patis over the course of the last 10 years or 5 years have dramatically gone down. So sarpanch pati, the placard has been actually replaced by the name of that woman. So empowering women with political power has its dividends.
Absolutely. And what I'd say, Preeti, that it's all right if the men are fronting the women for now. At least let's normalize the fact that more number of women are coming out. Reservations are there for women to come out. And one can only imagine that maybe the next generation, your daughter, will have a lot more confidence to take on without her husband or anyone, a man basically backing her. So this is a great step forward to gender parity. And I'd say that in politics, it's been by far dismal. Even business, for that matter, hardly you see women in leadership roles across the globe as well. And in India, it's even worse. So in politics, I think if we take this step with reservation of 33% women, I think that will have a nice effect.
Far-reaching impact.
Yeah, far-reaching effect even on businesses. But I'd surely say that if you have a sub-quota and reservation for SC, ST, OBC, you've got to have a reservation for Muslim women as well.
No, yeah, well, we'll get down to it. We'll speak to Aishwarya and Poulomi because the quota within a quota is something that was tweaked where the original bill was concerned. So we're going to talk about that. But, Akshita, you want to jump in? I want to ask all of us, is anyone against reservation?
I'm a bit...
You're on the fence on that?
For
Okay,
starters, let me just start off by saying I wish our parliament looked more like our newsroom because it's women-driven in the India Today newsroom. Hence, gold standard of journalism, gold standard of legislation is how you ensure more women are there. Having said that, the reason I'm on the fence on this is because I've never felt reservation or quota is really the answer to empowerment or equality. 25 years ago, I wish you started off saying now is the right time. I feel 25 years ago maybe would have been the right time to have brought in this legislation. It would have set the stage right now for 33% and beyond women to be in parliament today. Having said that, my only point about reservation is, are we really empowering women with quota? You look at our political parties right now. You look at the women also who are there. Largely people from political backgrounds. Are you going to say grassroots women really make it to the parliament in the get-go with this reservation? That's why I feel quota within quota, yes, is a discussion we need to have. But beyond that also, I believe that society maybe we need to change a bit.
Different point to make here. I think that reservation should have been done many years ago. We need to see more women in the parliament as well, more women fighting elections, more tickets given to women. If you see the parliament right now, it's a man's dominated spot. But my problem here with this reservation is something very different. When it was introduced and passed in Rajya Sabha in 2010, census and delimitation was not a part of it. And hence now that you bring it in as a part of it, you're delaying this entire exercise by 2029 is when it's going to get implemented. So why not now? My issue is only this. Something that should have been done years ago is now going to take another few more years for it to actually come into effect. And while I agree with you that, when you're talking about gender parity, reservations go against it, but just look at the numbers here. We need more women leaders.
Right. Ideal bring in the corporate perspective, right? Look at the corporate world. I mean, even after saying that you have to have a certain amount of representation of women on boards of companies, we've made progress. But it's nominal progress. It's still not the norm.
And by and large, women are in powerful positions if you're an entrepreneur or founder of the company. Hardly ever that they're made to be the CEO.
I think even if you see this reservation coming through, it's largely going to be family fronted, is my worry.
No,
I know it's ideal speak. I know it's ideal speak.
I think, a lot of us who say, who are on the fence come from a point of acute privilege of being women, where you talk about the SC/ST reservation, technically the creamy layer. And I think all of us will accept that we are the creamy layer where it comes down to women. So in terms of, Sneha, you want to come in on this? Do you agree that it's really not going to be the best possible way to empower women, or do you stand by the fact that in the long run this is exactly what we need?
It's exactly what we need. And the reason for this is because you said, Preeti, that shouldn't have political parties given more representation to women by themselves. Who's done it? Has Congress done it?
Exactly.
Sonia Gandhi was at the forefront of this in 2010 and personally disappointed when the alliance partners refused to support her. Samajwadi Party, RJD, a part of UPA2, refused to support her. What did the Congress do? Did the Congress give tickets to women? They did not. I think the only political party which gave representation to women was the Trinamool Congress to an extent. So if you were to leave it to political parties, women will not get representation. I think
Sneha, the beginning, why I say that is, I think, we've got to give due where it's where one should. political history stands testimony that the left parties publicly and even internally have given a lot of representation to women.
To women.
Geeta Mukherjee was one of, an icon of that as well.
Yes.
So in that context, yes.
But
not
Preeti,
everyone.
How ironical that
But this-
Samajwadi Party or the RJD have
Socialist.
a caste-based politics often. They are the ones who push caste reservations.
reservations,
But on gender
not for women,
reservation,
yes.
they'd like to be on the
I
back
want to
foot.
bring in Aishwarya and Sakshi into this conversation. Both of them haven't had a word in. Aishwarya, you go back to many times this bill has been tabled. I still remember when it was torn up, and strangely at that time, it was torn up by none else but Samajwadi Party women MPs. And then on the other hand, you've had the likes of socialist leaders who've been openly, vehemently against it, like Lalu Prasad, Mulayam, Nitish Kumar as well, opposing it. Many would ask, Aishwarya, because you cover the BJP as well, that why now? You've had brute majority. Why not, the time was right 4 years ago, 5 years ago. Why choose right now? Because there's going to be political implications read into it, that maybe it's not empowerment what the government's trying to do, but set a political narrative. You could have done it earlier because, the Congress can go with the card saying that, listen, we never had that kind of majority. Our allies never supported us.
Preeti, you spoke about the Bharatiya Janata Party. Let me tell you, all of us, and especially Paulomi and I, whenever we are at the Bharatiya Janata Party headquarters, every time we sit in a room, it's 2 or 3 women against at least 15 men. And it is a reality. Wherever you sit, whenever you go to meet someone, you feel that it really is a male-dominated society. And let me tell you, we have seen snide remarks being made that now we will have Sansad Pati in the parliament. While they are making sure that there is a women reservation bill that comes out, they are trying to make sure that it gets pushed. But yes, one thing that we do here is they don't like it. They just don't like it. They don't like women chief ministers. They don't like women bosses. They don't like any woman who has a mind of her own.
Such an important point. Because
They just don't like it.
About the narrative around
they
women
don't like
changing, and that is a far bigger fight.
But then Sakshi, let me get to Sakshi. Let Sakshi come and let her get in a word. But Sakshi, the question I want to ask you is, in the realm of business, right? And I have to say, you guys have done a lot better in terms of women empowerment than, say, politics or the other spheres. You see a lot of empowered women out there, going about running strong businesses.
Absolutely, but Preeti, it's still been, far-fetched, really. Still, SEBI has to send notices to all the businesses asking, what is the mandate and what are you following it? And why only 1 or 2 women on the board seats then? Why not more? If SEBI has just mandated 1 or 2 seats, why can't you go beyond it? Why can't you look for people who are equal or more talented to have more representations on the board as well? Likewise, on the country front as well, until and unless you give an opportunity, how am I going to show my talent? How am I going to really push for policies that are made for our gender, that are also made by us as well? And that is what the point really is, and that is what I believe this Women's Reservation Bill is likely to point out.
Can I just make one more point here about women leaders not doing enough for women reservation? I do feel that, a lot more women parliamentarians could have led from the front. I'd say that right now it was maybe only Kalvakuntla Kavita who kind of pushed this forward for the last many months. I feel our women members of parliament kind of let us down.
Sushma Swaraj really fought for it before her passing. She really fought and she rallied behind a lot of the BJP leaders to support the bill. So a lot of women have been behind it. Sonia Gandhi has done it. She has rallied behind the bill. A lot of women have, but it's unfortunate that the men haven't supported it.
No, I have a very different view on it. And, yes, they haven't done much, but look at these. It's what is the percentage of these women? You're making your own way in a highly male-dominated arena, which is deeply patriarchal. If political parties don't have gumption to give tickets to women, you can't expect these women to do it because they've got to watch their back all the time. They're fighting. It's a very different fight.
If powerful women don't do it, who will?
I agree, but then you've got to put enough on the table then. You've got to empower enough of them to find a collective voice. And it's happened in Parliament. Paulomi, let's go back into the history. It has happened. Women cutting across party lines. You spoke of Geeta Mukherjee, Brinda Karat, Renuka Chaudhary, Margaret Alva, Sushma Swaraj,
Sonia Gandhi, of course, at the helm of UPA affairs.
And at that
there have been many women.
I still remember, when they were tearing the Women Reservation Bill, it was these women who formed a chain outside and inside.
Women have been raising, but it's like you said, the representation of women is so abysmal in Parliament that you think that as many are not coming forward and speaking about it. They're all speaking about it. They were all brought up the issue at some point or the other. K. Kavita, of course, very prominently, raised it this particular year. And it's been this year when, of course, the Narendra Modi government has decided to bring this bill to Parliament. But many women have led from the front. But look at the representation right now. You're talking about, whether there should be reservation or not. In 2019 Lok Sabha elections, there were over 8,000 candidates who contested the elections. 716 women only pitched by parties as candidates for these elections. How many get elected eventually? Currently, it's about 78, so it's about 14-15%. That is the number at the moment, and they're fighting very hard. We spoke about Panchayat elections as well, local urban body elections as well. There is reservation, but the fact of the matter is also that if you start looking at data, you'll see that eventually at least 15% of these women are re-elected when those seats become unreserved. So clearly there is some weightage attached to this affirmative action that we're taking, and it's much needed.
I think that's a great point, and I really feel it's about creating the opportunity, encouraging women, giving them the access to tools and resources to enable them to go out there and chase those seats. There are incubators today, aggregators, for instance, the Netri Foundation that is doing just this. They are going to the grassroots, they are finding women who are interested in politics and helping them to get access to mentors, learning, tools, resources, so they can get to those seats and actually compete.
Pooja, I'll ask you that, the sheer fact, because, okay, first say what you want to say.
I wanted to, taking from her point, that it's also about the portfolios that women leaders get. Once they are in government, so to say, or in prominent positions, don't only give them women-oriented portfolios, whatever that really means. But it's good to see a finance minister who's a woman. Or a minister in so-called hardcore portfolios. Even for our profession, it doesn't have to be a certain portfolio. A woman journalist can do everything, and we've proven it. But it has taken a lot of effort to come that far. Rather than cover a garden show, we can cover conflict as well. And that's why those women will have to be given that position, given that opportunity for another woman to see and know that you can actually make it.
It's also just a step in a good direction if you have as many women sitting in a cabinet meeting. It impacts policy making. Decisions are taken from a woman's perspective as well. So even if, a woman minister is there with a portfolio that you might think is woman-centric or whatever, just having as many women inside that meeting just changes policy making, and a different perspective is added, be it issues of violence against women, skewed sex ratio, nutrition issues, education, health. It adds that perspective, and world over you'll see that when there are
policy change is what is required.
To have space on the table.
With whatever Pauline is saying right now, and women have had to fought a very hard battle, whether to find their place in the corporate world, especially politics has been a very tough landscape for women as such. But I will always question the timing of when this is coming in, why this particular party wants to do it now, and that too after doing it now only implemented in 2029.
The way I look at it is,
question.
the way I look at it, it doesn't matter. Credit was be welcome. It doesn't matter. I don't care about the politics.
But also I would bring in the angle of the fact that probably they're looking at the women voters, and probably that could be a reason.
It doesn't matter.
Which is okay. The fact is, if any government could bring it, it would be this, because this is the government with a majority. Why did the bill fall apart?
I have a question for you.
If your intention was in the right place, you would implement it right off the bat, not wait till 2029.
Constitutional amendment, you can't implement it right off the bat. You need a two-third majority. You need all parties on board. But I'd say the parties like the SP or the RJD who opposed it don't have heft anymore. They don't have the kind of weight that they hold today. So it's more likely to be passed than
but
before.
now what will happen is, and which Pauline was right, will happen is you will look at the quota within a quota, and that is where most of the parties will dig in their heels, where regional parties are concerned.
That is dangerous.
Well, dangerous or not, but you wanted to.
No, I wanted to ask you, we are known as the rape capital of the world.
Yes.
I just want to put it out there because I'm not sure we can have any conversation related to women empowerment in India without addressing the fact that we see the most heinous act till date, right? And we're known for this globally. So my question is, is this going to help us get more women in positions of power to change the narrative around women? Because the men surely haven't been capable of preventing some of these things from happening.
And ensuring policies that come in on that as well. We haven't seen the strongest of the legislations around this and protection of women's sexuality, heinous crimes against women. We haven't seen that.
Forget about that. Even on the floor of the parliament.
I want to ask you, because you guys debate a lot about what really goes on inside the parliament. How many hours of discussion really happens around the women issues? Please tell me that.
No, it's not just about how many hours of discussion. The sheer fact that you have parliamentarians who've been on the floor and against them, the language used has been derogatory to say the least.
One that I remember is of Mulayam when speaking about women's reservation, saying ladies with bob cut would enter parliament. Yes, that really
Parkati is the word.
As a woman in India today, how do you feel safe when you have these things happening? So,
but I want to just go back to it and circle right back, because yes, we are talking that it's the need of the hour and we need to do it. But do we also agree somewhere down the line that unlike what, say, Ambedkar envisioned for reservation where SC/ST was concerned, and he had given a timeline then, we haven't seen that timeline, we've only seen that quota increase. But a 15-year timeline, a stipulated timeline, which says that, okay, this is for 15 years and then there could be a rethink. I think, would that be enough, 15 years?
No, I don't think so. I think this will certainly require more time, and this will require a change in mindset, which obviously isn't going to be easy. And that's the reason why there should be no time frame to this, is what I believe. Also, Preeti, I want to make a point about sub-quotas. Since there's a lot of conversation about sub-quotas and how there is opposition already, we've seen it. I think this is very dangerous. The idea is to empower women here, give them the opportunities, decide later if they're fit enough for a second term, for that, for the ticket to be given to that particular woman representative or not, but at least give them these opportunities. And if you bring in sub-quotas, and if you bring in reservations for OBC within the women category, or reservation for Muslims or any other minority, there could be more demands since the discussions are currently underway. The fact is that that is going to dilute the entire idea. I think within political parties, if there is in fact, when it's mandatory that you have to have 33% seats reserved, parties, by their own will can decide whom they want to give that ticket to, and these demands of sub-quotas for OBCs and for Muslims.
All these party heads are all male. Where you ever seen a female party president or a party chief distributing tickets? So it's still looked at from a man's lens, a man's perspective, who I should give and who should I not.
And
even if there is
reservation. Some have done it.
Trinamool Congress is headed by a woman.
No, okay, let's go. Okay,
Who's the president of the Trinamool Congress?
Trinamool Congress is
Mamata Banerjee is the CM. I'm talking about who the ticket distribution still happens.
It's Mamata Banerjee.
Mamata Banerjee decides as a president also.
Mamata Banerjee is the head of the Trinamool Congress.
Okay.
She's also the CM and the head of the Trinamool Congress.
Like most political parties.
Preeti, one thing which we should give to the BJP, apart from the politics, yes, they have done their data crunching, they understand how many women actually vote for them, is the fact that Prime Minister has on many occasions spoken from the dais, spoken from the ramparts about things which usually politicians shrug away from talking. He spoke about sanitary pads. It's something which, even in the household, we have seen, at least in the majority of the households, it's something that the menfolk don't want to talk about. So yes, one thing we have to give it to them, they have the brute maturity, and somewhere down the line, they also have that kind of will. We can see that yes, they want to do it. Whether they'll be able to do it or not is a question.
No, what will are we talking about? 25 years since it was first introduced in the parliament, it still languishes, it still continues to become a reality. While we chest thump about the fact that this is a landmark for India, it's not really a reality until 2029. So I don't know what are we celebrating today.
It's shameful, Preeti, that Cuba, Rwanda have better representation of women in their legislatures than India. So I think at least the beginning has been made.
Our neighbors are doing better.
Yes.
Pakistan,
Bangladesh is doing better.
Sri Lanka,
Yes.
they are doing better in terms of representation of women in their parliaments as opposed to us.
Mizoram doesn't have a single woman MLA. I mean, why are we looking at this from the point of view of, the fact that why has this been delayed so far? I think the fact that it's finally happening, even if it happens in the year 2029, we waited this long.
I'm going to just lighten the mood here. How many of us would ever consider fighting an election if there's reservation?
Maybe.
Maybe. Maybe.
This is,
we've got a maybe from a Nabila. We've got a maybe from
Aishwarya and from Abha.
And a maybe from an Abha.
I would want to be on the other side of the stairs, you know, like right now I'm...
Because all I'm saying is remember us lot, huh?
You know, and if you ask...
There's a thing with politicians that they forget where they come from.
To that question, Preeti, I'd say that the only thing that might stop me from taking the plunge is security. I'm not sure if I'm going to be safe in a village, in a remote village, meeting people.
Very good point.
I'm not too sure if I'm going to be safe.
You know, if you're a
That's the only
journalist,
thing that might stop me.
Take it from me, if you're a journalist and you've been to those remote villages covering that politician,
Safer than cities. Safer than cities.
No, but I think the larger point she's trying to make here is that India is still not considered as a safe city. Like Abha mentioned, we're still the rape capital of India. So that safety and security aspect and making India
and the onus and the burden we've put on the women representatives already, because the male parliamentarians don't have to worry about. They only have to worry about their constituencies and their ambitions. While with women, we expect so and so that they'll have sisterhood, they'll be pushing for women. So that's also a certain burden that you've already put on a mind of only a woman representative right now, who maybe just will excel at her field, at her best, and maybe that could set an example.
You know, I want to ask you a question. That, you know, there is a perception of women in the workforce, in political arena, in the corporate world as well. She's going to probably get married. I've been asked questions many times in different interviews. You're single now, are you going to get married? When are you going to be having a child? There are so many of these concerns. Look at the mindset today in India. Do you think that there is a need to first change the mindset, and is this a step in that direction probably?
I think the mindset is already changed.
Of course, but you know, Chetty, what happens is, now if you look at it now, you know, okay, it's in every field. I don't think politics is any different.
How are we okay with it?
It's in the corporate.
How are we okay with it?
No, we are not okay with it. That's why we are pushing for something.
My point is this is what I started off saying, that, you know, my worry is that reservation in a parliament will make it look like, look, women have it easy. There's a reservation, so she's made it in. And that is my concern. You know, it changes the narrative, makes it look like the woman doesn't deserve to be there, but she has to be there to represent a certain percentage. That's my concern with reservation. And I know it's ideal thinking to say society should change.
One at a time. Let's go one at a time.
I heard Akshata, and what I'm trying to say here is she's right. And we don't want to be trivialized, which is why I feel the 15 years after which that bill should ideally exhaust is actually a good idea. It should happen that way, that you can't have reservation permanently, just like how you shouldn't have reservation even for minorities lifelong.
And I think it's what you do with that
there
opportunity.
Should be an end to it.
It is true that women have to work harder than men. It's known they have to work harder. It's okay. Let's stop blaming women like
marriage and maternity
Let's just go out there and grab
it. Even as journalists, we have changed it because we are representing that field. So we start speaking, we bring that change. So you need more women to be able to.
I feel there's power in the collective.
Exactly.
That's what I feel. Instead of having, you know, what we are right now is what, follow me, about a 12% representation in the 12 to 14%
as opposed to 61% in Cuba and Rwanda.
You know, if you are going to bring in 33%, it's not going to be that one odd which they're going to say that you're here because of quota. You're going to look at this massive 33% who's going to have a collective voice.
The onus lies on who gets the ticket, and does that person have the voice to represent crores of people who are penning their hopes on these people?
That's always the gamble. That's always the gamble. My concern is, and you know, I am someone who perhaps is being a bit too skeptical and too much on the fence and questioning this non-stop. But my only question
it's a good thing.
Look, with the reservation coming through, I think a lot of the onus also falls on these political parties. And do we really trust them to do their bit?
Absolutely.
You know, when if the seats are reserved, they will have to put up.
Who will they put? Let's go one by one.
Do political parties within their units have reservation for women at the moment?
No, well, look at what the
because this is a baseline mindset shift if you're actually looking at it from the intention point of view.
Well, follow me, look at it. The sheer fact that you had a Congress who went to town in the UP elections with Beti Hu, Ladki Hu, Lad Sakti Hu. They offered that reservation in Uttar Pradesh, but where push come to shove, where they were actually a stakeholder in a state like Karnataka, they didn't give that reservation because most political parties understand that it's not feasible for them to do so. So the only way out is a reservation, I would think.
No, absolutely. You have to take that sort of action right now, because if you're going to hope that political parties are going to just wake up and ensure that there's equality in handing out tickets for the elections, that's not going to happen. It hasn't happened. It won't happen. We are living in a largely patriarchal society, so there has to be a push. Yes, it possibly needs an expiration date, which is exactly exactly what this government has done, which was proposed earlier as well, that okay, we're not going to have this forever, but we are hoping that this will start changing things around. It's going to be rotational. No particular seat is going to be reserved for 15 years, right? It's 5 years, 1/3. The next 1/3 will be reserved for the next 5 years, and then the next 1/3 for the next 5 years.
Pooja, I'm going to come to you and I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think, because let's say the 2010 bill had the same thing, which was at least, one thing is the common factor, which is Lok Sabha and state assemblies. Would you think that where there were amendments being made, maybe we should have also made it for the Rajya Sabha and assembly councils?
Well, I think Rajya Sabha already has a lot of reservations in terms of nominated members that are there from arts and entertainment, so why not have gender-based as well? But actually, taking from what Paulam is saying, Preeti, I am sort of okay with the deadline for now, for a certain timeline. Keep it for 20 years, maybe even less, see how it goes after that. Does it help or not? After that, if you think another group deserves that sort of reservation, that rotation is fine, because there are a lot of debates that do go on after that. But for now, it has to even begin, Preeti. It's going to be quite a few years.
I will second you on that. I think that speaks volumes that we need only this much, but not too much. That is what is the power of a woman today.
No,
I
agree.
We will only ask you for an equality, but not beyond. And
what I'm reminded of here is, it's strange, but a Margaret Atwood line where she'd said that if you didn't want to raise an army, you shouldn't have given us uniforms. And somewhere down the line, women across the world have been put in a box, in terms of on what they can do, what they can't do, and how much can be given to them. Because till now, you've given them schemes politically. Every possible scheme in the last 4 or 5 elections that you've seen, 80% of them are engineered towards women. And it's not just the BJP, Aishwarya, I would reckon anymore. If you look at a Mamata Banerjee, a woman vote bank is solidly supported and made certain, political leaders and parties win, and they understand that. And they've not, I feel, and I actually do feel it's not that they've done it of their large-heartedness that they needed to do it.
There's data.
The time had come while we were pushing it, and now we were ready to put it on the
But given a free LPG cylinder, free bus ride, give them opportunities. But there's some facilities.
There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
I think what has happened is, once a woman steps into the voting booth, there is a renewed, there's a sense of empowerment that they have started getting, especially in the smaller cities. Because earlier what used to happen, you have a head of the family, it could be your husband, your father-in-law, your brother, and even telling you that we will vote for this party. But now what has started happening is, once they step inside, they vote for the party they want. Yeah, they have a mind of their own.
Nitish Kumar's election was a classic example of that, where the man in the house went and voted for someone else because of the sharab bandi, the liquor ban, and the woman went and pressed the button where the GD was concerned.
We've already started that debate with the municipal council and panchayat reservations for women. So we already see nearly 15 lakh women voted to power in panchayat. So that's fabulous. There's already a conversation that's begun, but imagine how long it's taken from then to now to get to the Legislative Assembly and
I want to ask
Parliament.
all of you a question.
It's taken 27 years.
Who are your role models when it comes to the women politicians that we've had till now?
I would love to see a prime minister. I would love to see a prime minister.
Asking that of a political reporter is it's political, it's career suicide for some.
Because we need role models.
To a woman prime minister like Indira Gandhi, a strong face. I would love to see a woman prime minister, but I hope she'll of course be a strong face, not a tokenism. But I would love to see in my lifetime a woman prime minister.
And I do agree, because
that I refer to here is Jai Jayalalalitha, and what she did for women in politics, what she did for women in Tamil Nadu. The way she built herself, right? That's what it takes essentially for a woman to succeed in politics. She created this image of Amma, said nobody can come near me, and that's what it led to. That's what made her a politician and the chief minister.
When you talk about Indira Gandhi, but she was a fabulous prime minister as well. She had her failings where the emergency and other were concerned. But having said that, she cannot really be a beacon or or a symbol of women empowerment, because she wasn't there because of
family.
She came from privilege. She came from privilege. She came from dynasty. But Mamata Banerjee, the likes of Jayalalalitha, Mamata Banerjee, or a Mayawati. I'm sorry, but even a Mayawati. These are all self-again.
But again, Preeti, why would she be always referred to as Madam Sir? Why not just Madam? That is the thing that we want to come to, right? It's always about, we are talking about history being created, but it is his story. Remember that we want her story to be created.
Well, that's a good line.
That's a point that Pooja was making, and it's true that there has to be a persona for a woman, you know, especially from what you say to what you wear. All these things are minutely being observed and then dissected, which I think is a big problem. We have all seen it happening in corporate offices.
It's all happened with all of us at some
I think
point.
we're all accustomed to it.
It's always
We're used to
women's
it.
clothing.
Yeah, we're used to
Men
being
always
judged
have a say on
Have a
women's
problem.
clothing. Be it the hijab,
Yeah.
I will take that. I will take it up here.
You know, I'll come
Why
back.
should the men tell us
Yeah,
what to
talk
wear,
about
what
the
not
fact,
to
yes.
wear? The men who are making the rules all the time
from
on
what
women's
Aishwarya
clothing.
said, and that's the reason
Let's go
why.
one by one, guys. Let's
Preeti,
go.
Aishwarya said a while ago that, even when you enter into the BJP headquarters, you have more men than women. I think it applies to many places, in political parties and other spaces as well. Not in newsrooms. Not in our newsroom, but it does. But, my only thing is that, whatever you have to say, the mindset isn't going to change in 15 years.
No,
I think
political leader.
It's a slow
from
burn.
the
It's a slow
It won't
No,
change.
from the TMC,
And that's the reason
she was
why-
objectified.
Nusrat Jahan.
Nusrat.
Nusrat Jahan.
How much was she objectified? I mean, look at the mindset
It cuts
today.
both ways. Chaiti, it cuts both ways. If Nusrat Jahan was objectified, when Smriti Irani won, she was objectified. The kind of language that was used against her is different level.
It's just that I feel our learning from this 33% reservation really is that when nobody is letting you into the room, you need to kick the door open. I just think that is our learning from the reservation in Parliament and in life in
Can
general.
I just ask one question?
Right.
And I'm, Preeti, Paulami, Aishwarya, whoever can answer this. There's a lot of question about whether this bill is a dud because it doesn't come into effect immediately.
True.
Was there any possibility of it being brought in immediately, being implemented immediately, or did the BJP need this time frame of saying, 2027?
I have a thing on it, and I'll bring in Polumi into this. Polumi, because, why 2029? Because the fact is, nobody's still ready. 33% reservation is very difficult to swallow. You've got to push it in little by little, because any of those men who were sitting in Parliament would be looking back on their own kursi. So you had to do it little by little.
So you're
There's
saying
no
this
way
is
you
the
could have
only
done
way?
it immediately. Could they have? Like technically yes, but practically
Technically, yes, of course. Like I said, it's been the argument. It's going to be the argument in the Lok Sabha during the discussion as well that this is just a pipe dream which has been sold to the women of the country, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the census first. Then it's going to be the delimitation exercise, where there's going to be a lot of, there's going to be a lot of objections to it, because the delimitation exercise, for instance, those from the southern parties believe that because their population has shrunk and they've done it, they're going to be penalized for it. So the seats are going to reduce. The seats up north are going to increase, and certain parties that hail from the north of India, including the ruling party, are going to benefit from it. And then, of course, after you cross that hurdle, will the point of reservation come up? But logistically, you'll have to look at it that this was going to take some amount of time in itself. There was that whole proposal, the idea, which was has been discussed by various committees, the standing committee in the past during the UPA time as well, about dual membership as well for the moment, and then of course transforming it into a single membership, having a Mahila Sansad from the reserved category, and then having a Sansad
So it could have been
comes
done.
on merit, complete merit. You had 2 MPs for one-third constituencies in the country. But again, you're asking the Election Commission to prepare for all of it. You're asking for an exercise to be done in terms of identifying those constituencies, the population. A census hasn't been done since 2011. It's a long, tedious process.
What
I'm gonna do is I have the last 5 minutes.
Distribution is happening anyway, so why not have the reservation immediately?
All right, okay, I have last 4 minutes.
Going around.
Okay, guys, okay, ladies, time out. I have last 4 minutes in this conversation, and I'm going to begin with Abha. So let's just all, make sure that we all get a word in. So Abha, 30 seconds each on closing comments.
I think it's a great step. It is putting women front and center, saying that they are a priority, they are involved in the decision making in this country, and to me that's a great step.
Sakshi.
I think in our country, we are referred to as a form of goddess Lakshmi. If you don't give her the powers that she can exercise with, that is what this bill can actually land up in, and I think it's a great step as well.
Well, the country will change with policies. Policies are done by leaders, so you need a woman leader. You need them in the position that can make changes, and we hope that happens, so it's a good step.
End of the discussion. I'm still a skeptic. Sure, treat it as a stepping stone, but I believe nothing more.
Sneha, why don't we begin?
Yes, I think it's a great step. This was really required. It's come in late after many years, after a lot of drama that we've seen over the years. But whoever has done it has, BJP has done it. And give them the credit. They have the numbers. Get it passed. Let's get on with it. Even if it's 2029, we'll just wait for some more time. It's okay.
Pallavi.
All for it. I do want to see more women in Parliament as I cover it. I want to see the woman's perspective being spoken out inside Parliament. I love how, Sneha spoke about kicking the door. I loved how everyone, there was some amount of outrage when Nusrat Jahan and Mimi walked in wearing Western formals to collect their first Parliament badge when they became MPs. But then immediately they shut everyone down because you need that change of mindset and only women can do it.
Chaiti.
All for women representation. There is enough evidence to suggest that the feminization of legislation also ends up bringing the right kind of policy decisions for the other women in this country too. All for it, but I would call this a dud because it is not being implemented now and we have to wait till 2029, and I will question the intention and the timing of this.
All right.
Preeti, I think it's a great step. As someone who's been inside and someone who's been covering political parties, I think we definitely need more women representation and strong women. We need stronger women.
And give me a minute.
Yeah.
You have women who ace it in examinations in every course, right? Women are largely are first rank holders in classes. Why do they drop off the grid right after? Then you see only men in powerful positions. So I feel gender parity needs to start from home. Your parents need to stop pushing girls to get married at a certain age, that your time is running out after a certain age. So it needs to start home. And more importantly, if you want women's reservation to be taken seriously and women's rights to be taken seriously, then I would chime in that men's rights also need to be considered. Sexual harassment and posh in companies and in general, as per law as well, is not a two-way street. We've got to ensure that men also have their right when it comes to addressing grievances of harassment just as much as women.
All right, okay, so ladies, that's it. That's all the time that we have. Well, what I really do hope is that it passes from both houses, and then we'll see where it goes down the line, because I think with all of us, we don't want to be put up on pedestals where women are concerned. We don't want to be considered Mata Devi or Behen or Bhabi or anything like that. We just want a level playing field, and damn, we want it as quickly as it can come. But thank you all for joining us. Appreciate it. The news continues on the other side. There's a 7-hour discussion on the Women Reservation Bill today.
आरक्षण 1989 में जब राजीव जी प्रधानमंत्री थे, तब स्थानीय निकायों के चुनाव में उन्होंने 1/3 आरक्षण महिलाओं के लिए सुनिश्चित किया था। तत्पश्चात कांग्रेस की सरकारों ने लगातार प्रयास किया कि महिला आरक्षण का बिल पास हो, कानून बने। लोकसभा एवं विधानसभाओं के लिए भी 1/3 आरक्षण के लिए डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह की सरकार के वक्त जो ये बिल आया, वो आज तक जीवित है, आज तक जीवित है। माननीय अधीर रंजन जी ने जो कहा वो फैक्चुअली इनकरेक्ट है कि पुराना बिल अभी भी जीवित है। मेरी स्पष्ट जानकारी है कि पुराना बिल लैप्स कर गया है। अधीर रंजन जी ने जो कहा है उसके समर्थन में उनके पास कोई डॉक्यूमेंट है तो टेबल पर रखने चाहिए। एक, या तो उन्होंने स्टेटमेंट विड्रॉ करना चाहिए। दूसरा, उन्होंने कहा कि इस बिल को लोकसभा ने भी कभी पारित किया था राजीव गांधी जी के समय में, कभी नहीं हुआ है। माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, लोकसभा में जो बिल पारित होता है, अगर राज्यसभा उसको पारित नहीं करती है और लोकसभा का कार्यकाल समाप्त होता है तो वो बिल अपने आप लैप्स हो जाता है। मैं मानता हूं कि इस चीज को स्पष्टता करनी चाहिए और माननीय अध्यक्ष जी, अगर उनके पास अलग जानकारी है तो सदन के टेबल पर रखनी चाहिए।
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 37 and minimum 28 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 28 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 31 and minimum 25 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 32 and minimum 27 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 31 and minimum 23 degrees.
"28 months went into building this monumental narrative. The House of the People, our new Lok Sabha. Larger and grander, 888 seats, more spacious. Designed to accommodate 384 members, around 100 more seats than the present upper house. Vastness is just one element of this stately complex. India's new parliament embodies the Indian diversity in all its glory. Materials sourced from across the country to build this temple of democracy. Teak wood from Nagpur in Maharashtra, Rajasthan's red and white sandstone. Carpets procured from Mirzapur in Uttar Pradesh. The stone jali work bears the craftsmanship of Rajnagar in Rajasthan and Noida in Uttar Pradesh. Flooring of bamboo wood from the northeast from Agartala in Tripura. Indore in Madhya Pradesh sent the Ashok Chakra. The Ashok emblem sourced from Chhatrapati Sambhajinagar in Maharashtra and Jaipur in Rajasthan.
Weather forecast now. Delhi, maximum 37 and minimum 28 degrees. Mumbai, maximum 28 and minimum 26 degrees. Kolkata, maximum 31 and minimum 25 degrees. Bangalore, maximum 28 and minimum 21 degrees. Chennai, maximum 32 and minimum 27 degrees. Hyderabad, maximum 31 and minimum 23 degrees.
watching India Today, powered by Finest, Be Sustainable Change, a B&P Group company.
A very good morning. You're watching India Today television. I'm Sneha Mordani. A quick check of what's making news this morning first. Powerful lineup of speakers in Parliament on women quota debate. Sonia Gandhi will start the debate for Congress. Smriti Irani and Nirmala Sitharaman to lead the government's discussion today. Politics over Women's Reservation Bill intensify. Opposition leaders question the census and delimitation before the bill representation. Snubbed and humiliated. Trudeau backtracks. Trudeau softens stand after pushback, says not trying to provoke India. US, UK, Australia side with India.
We are not looking to provoke or escalate. We are simply laying out the facts.
India celebrates Ganesh Chaturthi. Lights and colors as Maharashtra celebrates with pomp and grandeur. Going straight to proceedings right now, which has begun both in Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Let's take a listen.
Item number 3, साध्वी निरंजन ज्योति।
माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं आज की संशोधित कार्यसूची क्रम संख्या 3 पर मेरे नाम के सामने उल्लिखित पत्र सभा पटल पर प्रस्तुत करती हूँ।
आइटम नंबर 4, श्रीमती मीनाक्षी लेखी।
Name at serial number 4 in today's list of business.
आज रहेगी, प्रयास कर रहे हैं, ठीक कर देंगे। आइटम नंबर 5, डॉक्टर सुभाष सरकार। आइटम नंबर 1, श्री अर्जुन राम मेघवाल।
धन्यवाद अध्यक्ष महोदय। With your permission, I move that the bill further to amend the Constitution of India be taken into consideration. मैं इस बिल के संबंध में कुछ विषय आपके समक्ष रखना चाह रहा था। अध्यक्ष महोदय, ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल अमेंडमेंट बिल है और महत्वपूर्ण बिल है। महिला सशक्तिकरण की दिशा में एक
ये पेपर ले करना अभी तो आपको आइटम नंबर 1 का
9 बोला ना आपने? 9
नहीं 1 बोला।
ओ 1। अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं आपकी अनुमति से क्रम संख्या 1 पर अंकित दस्तावेज, मेरे सामने अंकित दस्तावेज मैं सदन के पटल पर रखता हूँ।
आइटम नंबर 5, सुभाष सरकार।
मेघवाल जी को करा दीजिए,
आप ही कर दो आइटम नंबर 5।
अध्यक्ष महोदय, मैं सुभाष सरकार के सामने अंकित दस्तावेज जो क्रम संख्या 5 पर रखित है, आपकी अनुमति से टेबल पर रखता हूँ।
आइटम नंबर 6, श्री अधीर रंजन चौधरी जी।
Sir, I rise to present the report number 74th and 75th, Hindi and English versions of the Public Accounts Committee 2023-24 as listed against my name in today's list of business, serial number 6.
Item number 7, Sri Ravneet Singh. आप बोलना शुरू करो, माइक चालू जाएगा।
Speaker sir, I raise to lay on the table Speaker sir, I rise to lay on the table the minutes of Hindi and English versions of the 11th sitting of the Committee on Absence of Members from the sitting of the House as listed against my name at serial number 7 in today's order list. Thank you, sir.
Item number 8, Shri B. Mehtab ji.
Location.
Sir, I rise to present the 51st report, Hindi and English version of the Standing Committee on Labour, Textiles and Skill Development 2022-23 on the Employees State Insurance Corporation applicability and benefits under ESI scheme, functioning of ESI hospitals and management of corpus fund relating to the Ministry of Labour and Employment. Thank you, sir.
माननीय सदस्यगण, नई व्यवस्था है और नई व्यवस्थाओं में टेक्नोलॉजी का भी प्रयोग किया है। इसलिए मेरा आग्रह है, आज सुबह भी 10 बजे से टेक्नोलॉजी के बारे में सिखाने के लिए सभी माननीय सदस्यों से आग्रह किया था। कल भी सुबह 10 बजे टेक्नोलॉजी के जो भी सीखना आना चाहें इस पार्लियामेंट कैंपस में आमंत्रित हैं। टेक्नोलॉजी के कारण कुछ चीज़ें हो सकती है, आपको आवाज़ कम आए, उसको ठीक कर रहे हैं। नए घर में आते हैं तो नए परिवार में आते हैं तो आप सब राजीव जी
in the new constitution party given to MPs, secular and democratic words are not there. It was Rajiv Ji's bill. In the new constitution party given to MPs, secular and democratic words are not there. It was Rajiv Ji's bill.
Sonia Gandhi, senior leader of the Congress party, has said this bill was Rajiv Gandhi's dream, is what she has said, referring to her late husband and former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. She said that this was Rajiv Gandhi's dream. In fact, this is a statement that has come in from the Congress leader, senior Congress leader, former UPA chairperson, former Congress president Sonia Gandhi, who said that this was Rajiv Gandhi's dream. In fact, yesterday as well, when asked questions about the Women's Reservation Bill being tabled in Parliament, she said, "Ye apna hai, this is ours," is what she said, essentially setting the tone for the Congress party, who in fact said that this is an effort that was taken by the previous Congress-led governments. We're going straight across the proceedings once again in Lok Sabha.
ये बिल है। माननीय अध्यक्ष महोदय, जैसे मैंने कल जिक्र किया था कि बाबा साहब भीमराव अंबेडकर जी ने 25 नवंबर 1949 को जब संविधान बन गया था और उनका अंतिम भाषण था, तो उन्होंने एक चेतावनी दी थी कि 26 जनवरी 1950 को राजनीतिक समानता तो प्राप्त हो जाएगी, लेकिन सामाजिक और आर्थिक क्षेत्र में जो असमानता रहेगी उसे आने वाली सरकारों को दूर करना होगा। उन्होंने ये भी कहा था, मैं कोट अनकोट कहना चाहता हूँ, 26 जनवरी 1950 को हम परस्पर विरोधी जीवन में प्रवेश करने जा रहे हैं। राजनीति में हमारे यहाँ समानता होगी और सामाजिक और आर्थिक जीवन में असमानता होगी। राजनीति में हम एक व्यक्ति एक मत के सिद्धांत को मान्यता देंगे। हमारे सामाजिक आर्थिक जीवन में हम अपनी सामाजिक और आर्थिक संरचना के कारण एक व्यक्ति एक मूल्य के सिद्धांत नकारते रहेंगे। इस विरोधापूर्ण जीवन को हम कब तक जारी रखेंगे? कब तक हम अपने सामाजिक और आर्थिक जीवन में समानता से लोगों को वंचित रखेंगे? अब इसके बाद जो सरकारें आई, बाबा साहब के इस चेतावनी को भी ध्यान में ज़्यादा नहीं रखा। ऐसा नहीं है कि उन्होंने योजना नहीं बनाई सामाजिक आर्थिक समानता लाने की, लेकिन जैसे ही 2014 में नरेंद्र मोदी जी आते हैं प्रधानमंत्री के रूप में देश में, उसके बाद से सामाजिक आर्थिक असमानता को दूर करने के लिए बहुत सी योजनाएं बनाते हैं, जिसका कल मैंने कईयों का जिक्र किया। बहुत सी योजनाएं जिसमें महिला सशक्तिकरण की योजनाएं भी सम्मिलित है। अब टॉयलेट बनते हैं, महिला की गरिमा भी बढ़ती है, जो संविधान की प्रस्तावना में कहा हुआ। महिलाओं को समानता भी मिलती है, एक घर में लाइट, एक घर में लाइट नहीं है, एक घर में टॉयलेट, एक घर में टॉयलेट नहीं है। तो ये समानता लाने का अधिकार महिलाओं को सबसे ज़्यादा 2014 के बाद इसने स्केल भी बढ़ाया, योजनाओं में बजट भी बढ़ाया और स्पीड भी बढ़ी। इसलिए मैं ये कहना चाहता हूँ कि भारत के संविधान की प्रस्तावना में सामाजिक और आर्थिक न्याय का भी उल्लेख है और प्रतिष्ठा और अवसर की समानता का भी उल्लेख है। आज के इस बिल से महिलाओं की प्रतिष्ठा तो बढ़ेगी, अवसर की समानता भी बढ़ेगी, महिलाओं को रिप्रेजेंटेशन मिलेगा। इसके महत्वपूर्ण 4 ऐसे क्लोज हैं जिनका मैं जिक्र करना चाहूँगा कि हम जो इस बिल के माध्यम से अमेंडमेंट कर रहे हैं, इसमें 4 महत्वपूर्ण क्लोज हैं। बाकी जो चर्चा होगी उसके बाद जो विषय आएंगे उसका बाद में उत्तर देने का अवसर मिलेगा, आप देंगे तो मैं दूंगा। पहला जो क्लॉज है वो संविधान का आर्टिकल 239, उसमें हम एक 239AA जोड़ रहे हैं, जिससे नेशनल कैपिटल दिल्ली की असेंबली में महिलाओं के लिए 33% सीट का रिजर्वेशन सुनिश्चित होगा। ये इट इज ए फर्स्ट अमेंडमेंट क्लॉज है इस बिल में, क्लॉज 2। फिर हम दूसरा क्लॉज 3 जोड़ रहे हैं, जिसमें 330 आर्टिकल जो संविधान का है उसमें 33A एक हम सेक्शन जोड़ रहे हैं, आर्टिकल जोड़ रहे हैं, जिसके अनुसार महिलाओं के लिए लोकसभा में 33% आरक्षण होगा। लोकसभा में ये बहुत बड़ा कदम है अध्यक्ष जी, बहुत बड़ा कदम है। और तीसरा संशोधन बिल के क्लॉज 4 के अनुसार संविधान के आर्टिकल 332 के बाद एक नया आर्टिकल 33